Welcome sa pinakabagong episode nandito sa Australia, the podcast. At ngayong araw, makakasama natin si Brian, dating student leader sa UP Diliman. At ngayon, ay isa sa kilalang drag queen dito sa Sydney. Alamin natin yung kwento niya at kung paano siya napunta sa industriyang ito. Sir Brian, kumusta?
Huwag nang kuya. Brian na lang.
Maraming salamat po sa pagpapaunlak sa interview natin ngayong araw. Kumusta po kayo?
Mabuti. Actually, galing lang akong show today. So, medyo pagod. Pero happy, masaya in general.
Kayo po ay, Brian, meron kayong another persona. Si
Yes.
Cassandra.
Yes.
Pero bago natin pag-usapan si Cassandra, pag-usapan muna natin si Brian.
Okay.
Sino ba si Brian bago siya maging si Cassandra?
So, si Brian ay nasabi mo nga kanina, isang student leader dati, isang student activist, youth activist back in the Philippines. I was very active in the student movement when I was studying in university. Tapos naging chairperson ako ng student council namin ng buong UP Diliman. And I was... marami akong extracurriculars actually. So aside from being a student leader, I was very active in academics. So isa akong chemical engineer. And nag-theater din ako. I'm an events host. Maraming ginagawa si Brian even before ako mag-move dito. And then in 2019, we had this opportunity na mag-move dito. It's like a graduate visa for UP engineering students. So actually wala talaga sa plan ko na mag-move sa Australia or even mag-move abroad. Pero may mga friends, may mga batchmates ako na nauna dito, pumunta dito. Sabi nila, try mo lang, alam mo yun, parang hindi mo masasabi kung ano yung what's in store for you. And I was at that point in my life, I came from a long-term relationship, recently broken up, and then I was in a very bad place mentally. So sabi ko, I need a reset. So yun, nag-move ako dito and never look back since.
Pero, nabanggit niyo po, kayo ay student activist.
Yes.
So, ito yung mga nakikita natin na talagang pinaglalaban yung karapatan ng bawat mamamayang Pilipino sa Pilipinas, di ba? Nagsisimula yan sa mga estudyante, sa mga eskwelahan. Hindi ba mahirap iwanan, hindi naman talikuran, pero iwanan yung bayang sinilangan na matagal mong pinaglaban to move and work and live abroad?
Mahirap siya in a sense na kasi syempre for me, I consider activism not a choice, but it's more of like a lifestyle. Well, technically it's a choice, but it's more of a lifestyle. So I basically spent my whole university life for the whole, even after university life, I chose to be an activist and live that basic and very paano ko ba siya explain? Parang sobrang simpleng pamumuhay talaga, so that you can fight for what is right and what's good for the masses. You have to somehow live like the masses. Kasi I came from I would say like a middle class background. Pero marami akong family members na farmers, na trade workers. So yun talaga yung nag-push sa akin na maging isang activist. And then when I entered UP, meron akong isang classmate na nung high school na hindi siya natuloy mag-enroll sa UP just because wala siyang pambayad sa enrollment. Ano na siya noon parang full scholar siya, parang mga 500 na lang yung kailangan niyang bayaran. So, pero hindi pa rin siya natuloy kasi parang na ano siya sa mga bayarin. Anyway, sorry, nag-tangent na ako. Pero parang yun yung nag-push sa akin. So, coming from that mindset na pinaglalaban ko kung ano yung para sa mas nakararami. When I decided to move here, it was very tough. Even some of my friends or like even some of the people na nakalaban ko dati sa student council were like saying na, tingnan mo, nag-aaktivista yan dati, tapos ngayon iiwan niya ang Pilipinas. Parang nasa na yung prinsipyo niya. Pero one thing that I realized is wherever you go, as long as intact pa rin yung paniniwala mo, yung principles mo na kailangan mo ipaglaban yung tama para sa masang Pilipino, it will never die. It will never go away. So even when I moved here, I still joined a lot of like migrant issue rallies or mga discussions, and then yung mga friends ko galing Pilipinas na nakakasama ko din maging aktivista, when they moved here, gino-join ko pa rin sila. Parang kinoconnect ko pa rin sila sa mga iba't ibang mga activist groups dito. So I would say I'm still very active. Mahirap siyang talikuran, pero kinailangan ko siyang gawin. Yes, hindi naman nawala yung prinsipyo ko. Kumbaga, even nasa ibang bansa na ako, ganun pa rin yung prinsipyo ko. At
Pero paano pong nahubog ng aktivismo yung pagkatao ni Brian?
Malaki talaga. Like, dahil sa activism, yung mga principles ko ngayon, yun na talaga yung, parang dahil sa aktivismo, yun yung nagbigay sa akin ng mga prinsipyo ko ngayon. So, even the way I think, even the way I, even just like even buying things or like even communicating with people, kino-consider ko na tama ba to in terms of my principles. And in everything that I do, even with my drag, in everything that I do, would this create greater good sa mas maraming tao. So, I always think of the community. I always think of how would my peers feel and take everything that I do. So, yun yung lagi kong consideration. Tapos, on a very practical level, I would say, yung confidence ko, yung pananalita ko, nakuha ko din yun sa pagiging aktivista. Kasi syempre, kailangan mo makipag-usap sa iba't ibang mga klaseng tao. You have to find a balance kung paano mo kakausapin ang isang, let's say, manininda compared to a student. May iba-ibang may iba-ibang levels kung paano mo sila kakausapin. So, yun yung practical na naturo din sa akin ng aktivismo.
Ngayon po, a lot of things are happening in the Philippines that is actually we can consider maybe worse things happening in the government in the past decades. Na dati hindi naman ganito kalala. Pero ngayon ang lala na parang gusto mong ipaglaban pero nasa Australia ka. Paano yun?
Actually, madali lang naman siya. I think with our world right now na, halimbawa ito, may social media na, like you doing contents, I think it is very important that we use our platform to educate people, and not just educate, but also organize and make them move. Kasi kahit nasa Australia ka, malaki pa rin yung influence mo eh. Malaki yung maitutulong mo in terms of combating fake news, educating people, gumawa ka ng, kahit magsulat ka lang, kahit mag-post ka lang, kahit kausapin mo lang yung family mo, sabihin mo, ito yung mga nangyayari sa Pilipinas ngayon, pwede nyo bang puntahan tong rally, pwede nyo bang puntahan tong grupo para makatulong kayo. And hindi lang yun sa mga rally like even donation drives, yung mga ganun, di ba, may bagyo recently, yung mga ganun, pwede kang makatulong in a sense na makipag-usap ka sa kanila and convince people to do the things in the Philippines. And I think historically din, malaki yung, for example, nung napatalsik si Marcos Sr., malaki yung role ng mga OFWs in terms of pressuring other governments to support the Filipino movement para mapatalsik si Marcos Sr. and to make the Marcos family accountable. So, yung ganun, kailangan natin yung i-take into consideration and take that power na kahit nasa ibang bansa tayo, kaya natin, we can make change. And we can definitely influence. Another good example actually was presidential election. I think, if I'm correct, I think Sydney had the biggest votes for Lenny. So, just the mere fact na malaki yung votes ni Lenny dito, ibig sabihin we can make waves in the Philippines. Although she didn't win, pero malaking malaking statement yun na kahit nasa ibang bansa tayo, we can influence the voting and the government in the Philippines.
Pero ngayon, ang dami na nating narinig na nakita, napanood sa balita ng mga rallies. Parang dati, part of history, naririnig ang taong bayan. Parang ngayon, naririnig pa ba yung taong bayan? Does it still matter?
Yes, definitely it does matter. Kasi maraming mga expose, maraming mga naibunyag ngayon ng mga issues na dahil naman yun sa pagsasalita ng taong bayan. Like for example, yung flood control projects, yung corruption, it has always been part of our government, but because there's a growing clamor right now to make our government officials accountable from the people, napuput into spotlight siya. So it's really just a matter of like making that movement stronger, I would say, and making it bigger. Kasi eventually we've done it in the past na parang for example yung PDAP scam, napatanggal natin yung pork barrel sa Senate, although it came back in different forms, blah blah blah. Pero it would still change something. And who knows kung ano pang kayang gawin ng mga Pilipino, di ba? Nakita natin sa iba't ibang mga bansa na, I'm not saying na gawin din natin yung pagsusunog ng mga kung ano-ano. Pero I would say na if it comes to that, we can do that. You know what I mean? So, yun, I think it's still very important to speak up and voice our concerns.
Mabalik ako sa iyo. Okay, mamaya na natin ituloy yung kwento tungkol sa activism at baka madala tayo sa balik tayo. Sa mga hindi nakakaunawa at hindi nakaalam ng tunay na kahulugan, paano mo ipapaliwanag sa kanila ang kahulugan ng drag?
Okay. So drag is an art form. It's basically like painting, singing, dancing, but it's just in a different form. So ang pagdadrag ay yung it's either hyper feminized or hyper masculinized. It's either hyper feminine or hyper masculine, basically. So it could come in a form of like a drag king, drag queen, or drag thing. It doesn't really have to conform to like the binary system of what we know as male and female. It's basically just like a self-expression through makeup, through costumes, through productions, through theater, through cabaret. Yun yung drag.
Ano yung usual misconception or stereotypes ng mga tao sa drag?
Feeling ko ang malaking stereotype is drag queens are very sexual and very vulgar. I think yun yung pinakamalaking misconception. Kaya in the past few years, ang daming mga nagsasabi na, bakit yung mga drag queens nag-story reading sa mga kids? Bakit may mga drag queens na nagpe-perform in front of kids? Sobrang sexual nila. Pero I think that's a very big misconception. Kasi if you actually go to a drag show, nothing sexual is happening. Like, probably there would be some sexy movements and very expressive movements. Pero nothing that is non-consensual na nangyayari sa isang production. And more than anything else, it's drag is a showcase of talent. So yun, feeling ko yun yung malaking misconception talaga eh.
Parang saan niyo po na-discover na yung pagdadrag, yung kagustuhan niyo sa industriya?
Kasi back in the Philippines, I used to do theater. So that was my life for like 10 years. So hindi na bago sa akin yung pagpe-perform. Tapos when I started hosting events in the Philippines, nag-start ako mag-cross-dress, nag-makeup, nag-experiment ako mag-makeup, nag-wig, ganyan. Tapos, eventually, nung nag-move ako dito, pinut aside ko siya. Sabi ko, okay, magpo-focus ako sa pagiging engineer. And then, one time, lumabas kami ng friends ko, nakakita ako ng drag show. Sabi ko, shit, namimiss ko nang mag-perform. Tapos sabi ko, parang kaya ko tong gawin. So, yun yung nag-inspire sa akin na yung pagpe-perform talaga yung nag-inspire sa akin kung bakit ako nag-drag.
Kayo po ay engineer by profession.
Yes, by profession.
Diba?
Yeah.
Hindi ba nakaka-apekto yung drag industry sa profession mo as a person?
Wala pa naman ako na-experience na parang nagkaroon sila ng problema. It's more of like, for me kasi, engineering is I would say it's a very masculine-dominated industry. So, yung pagdadrag ko, yung nagbibigay sa akin ng chance to express my femininity. So, nung nag-start ako mag-drag, I didn't see it as a negative thing. I also, like, my colleagues also didn't see any bad things about it. Yeah, it was more of like a chance for me to express my femininity and my expressiveness. Yun, wala naman naging problema.
But Filipinos are somehow traditional especially in terms of sexuality.
Yes.
Napakatagal bago natanggap ng lipunan o baka nga hindi pa buong lipunan natatanggap na merong ibang gender aside from male and female,
yes.
'Di ba? So, paano yung conception nun sa ibang mga Filipino sa palagay nyo?
Actually, it's very nice now na yung drag in general is getting more spotlight in the Philippines. May mga straight guys and girls na nanonood ng mga drag shows, which is very, very good kasi it used to be back in the Philippines, 'di ba? Parang yung drag na makikita mo lang siya sa mga gay bars, yung mga ganun. Pero ngayon may mga drag brunch na, may mga iba't ibang mga events, even corporate events hire drag queens now. So I would say na although it's not really accepted widely, it's getting more love and support now. Actually, yung family ko, when I started doing drag, especially my dad, would message me na, oh, bakit ka nagda-drug, ganyan. Bakit ka nagbibihis babae? So may one time pa na parang minessage na ako na nasa hospital ako kasi high blood ako kasi nakita ko yung picture mo nakapambabae ka. Gusto mo bang mag-trans, ganyan. This is coming from, na hindi kasi ako nag-come out sa, sorry, tangent na naman to, pero hindi kasi ako nag-come out sa family ko. My one night lang back in uni na kinonfront ako ng tatay ko, tinawagan niya ako, kasi nagva-vlog din ako dati, tapos may mga kasama akong mga trans friends ko, tapos tinawagan niya ako, sabi niya, oh, bakit may mga kasama kang trans? Alam mo ba mga manluloko sila, ganyan. Tapos eventually it turned into a big fight. Tapos yun na yung coming out ko. Tapos eventually hindi kami nag-usap for 2-3 years. Tapos yun, so when I started doing drag, I hesitated to post anything about drag kasi nga dahil sa reaction ng tatay ko. Pero yun, ngayon parang dahil nga self-expression ko siya, tapos nandito naman na ako sa Australia, they're not paying for anything, I'm paying for myself, so sabi ko, bahala na.
Kumusta naman yung pagsuporta ng Filipino community sa mga Filipino drag queens?
Very supportive, as in, masasabi ko na sobrang malaking support yung Filipino community sa drag ko. And I think pabalik din, that's why I also do drag, kasi gusto ko may mga Filipino audience na makakita sa akin. Tapos sabihin na, ay, hala, may isang Filipino drag queen. Tapos eventually, magkikreate siya ng mas malaking community, mag-invite ng iba't ibang mga friends nila. Tapos makita nila na, okay, ang isang Pilipino, isang migranteng Pilipino, ay kaya palang maging successful, kaya mag-thrive sa ganitong industry sa ibang bansa. So, yun, sobrang laking support.
Pero, ngayon, habang nagda-drag queen po kayo, are you still practicing your profession as an engineer?
Somehow, pero sa ibang industry na. So, hindi na, I used to work for a manufacturing company for 4 or 5 years. Tapos, parang last year lang, nag-move ako ng ibang industry. So, nasa, na ako, education and training industry na ako.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Ngayon, mabalik tayo sa migration journey. Mapunta tayo sa migration journey. So, you said, kayo po ay from UP, gumraduate, nag-Australia.
Yes.
How does it work? Paano yun? Bakit merong nakagraduate? Bakit merong nakapag-graduate visa nang nagtapos sa Pilipinas?
Oo. Kasi meron dati, I think recently lang nila tinanggal yun, visa subclass 476. Para siyang graduate visa din, pero from engineering degrees for specific universities all around the world. And in the Philippines, it's only UP Diliman and UP Los Baños who can have that. So, yun yung naging pathway ko para pumunta dito. Parang nung time namin, hindi siya talaga masyadong hindi talaga siya masyadong sikat. And of course, like, during that time, somehow, the Philippines was a little bit better, I would say. So parang wala masyado, especially like coming from my UP batchmates or like my UP, yung mga tao na naabutan ko sa UP, parang wala sa kanilang may idea na kailangan nilang lumabas. Pero towards the end of that, so nung time na ni PDDR and everything, na lumalala na yung sitwasyon sa Pilipinas, parang yun na yung nag-push sa akin na parang, okay, wala na akong career dito, wala na akong makukuhang anything good dito. So, lumabas na ako.
Tapos, when you arrive here on 476 subclass visa, how long is that?
So, yung 476 visa ay 18 months. 18 months na pwede ka mag-work, mamuhay dito ng malaya, full-time. And then, after that, you have to secure a PR, of course. So it's either you find a sponsor or like me, nag-skilled migration ako after that.
So you did like ito yung pointing system.
Yes, point system.
So how did you work on that?
So yung point system naman, may iba-iba siyang criteria eh. Parang you can get points from different criteria. So for example, ako dahil nag-work ako ng 3 years sa industry ko, sa nominated skill ko, parang I forgot ilang points yun. Tapos may English exam din. Tapos during our time, meron pang yung naati.
Until now, meron
pa rin yun. Okay. So you can get points for that as well. Tapos you can also get points just by living here. I think I was very lucky somehow na nagkaroon ng COVID situation. because it gave me more time to gain points. So, although nag-stop yung buong mundo, hindi din naman ako na-forced to move out of Australia. So, it gave me more time na magkaroon ng experience, magkaroon ng residency dito.
So then, after the residency is citizenship.
Yes.
So you got your citizenship
yes.
in Australia?
Recently lang. Actually, I just got my passport last week.
Last week?
Yes.
But how is it now na, are you still Filipino citizen ba?
In terms, actually hindi ko din alam. Kasi parang ang kwento sa akin, yung Australia, hindi sila masyadong particular sa dual citizenship. So, parang okay, kebs lang sila. Pero I think yung Pilipinas yung mas, mas strict sa ganun. So, I have to research on that. Pero, kasi parang, this is not, I'm not saying this in a bad way, pero parang there's really no point in being a Filipino citizen for me sa ngayon. Kasi, wala naman akong property sa Pilipinas. Wala akong anything to go back to sa Pilipinas in terms of like material or financial assets. So, parang wala akong makitang gains in becoming a Filipino citizen. Of course, aside from voting, I would say, oh my God.
Pero alam ko may option naman tayo for Filipinos
Yes.
to obtain dual citizenship. No? Pero how do you see yourself na ba na dito ka na, hindi ka na uuwi?
Oo. I would say na I think I've built my life here. Made friends here, made family here. At hindi na talaga, parang siguro kung uuwi man ako, I would say siguro for retirement. Pero that's also in the horizon.
Hindi pa sigurado.
Pero eventually, I would want to buy properties in the Philippines and maybe magkaroon ng business. Pero hindi ko pa sure. It depends.
Sa journey niyo po dito sa Australia, parang it's a different path from the usual na nakikita namin. Usual na napapanood namin, na naibabahagi namin na mga estudyante, naglumaban, nag-migrate, nag-graduate visa, nag-skilled. Kayo kasi hindi kayo dumaan sa pag-i-estudyante.
Actually,
dito.
dumaan ako sa pag-student during COVID. Kasi ang nangyari sa visa ko, so after matapos yung 18 months ng graduate visa, usually, madali na maka-PR. Pero dahil nag-COVID, di ba tumigil yung mga invites, tapos nagbago yung skilled occupation list. Ang daming nangyaring pagbabago sa migration during COVID. So, natagalan ako ma-invite. So, to stay here, I had to study again. I studied project management for 2 years. But thankfully, my previous company still hired me and made me work. And I was very lucky kasi I was in that group of people na during COVID, we were allowed to work full-time for a few months. So, sobrang swerte ko na naabutan ko yun before nila in-implement yung 24-hour rule during COVID for students. So, yun, nagdaan din ako sa pag-student. Tapos, akala ko, Actually, ngayon ko lang na-realize, medyo complicated pala yung PR journey ko. So, nag-start ako 476. I had to do student visa. And then I had, I was with a partner during that time. The whole time na andito ako, may jowa ako. My student visa ended. And then, parang yung ex-partner ko dati yung nagpo-push sa akin na mag-partner visa na tayo so that you can stay here. Kasi syempre parang 4 years, at that time parang 4 years na kami or 3 years. So syempre ayaw naman niya akong pauwiin. So sabi niya, mag-partner visa na tayo. So nung nag-end yung student visa ko, sabi ko, kasi ayoko talaga mag-partner visa. Kasi ayokong magkaroon ng, parang ayoko magkaroon ng utang na loob sa someone. Parang alam mo yun, na hindi, I wouldn't say na hindi ko pa naman nakikita yung future, pero parang alam mo yun, parang bago lang naman din kami. So, I wasn't really sure. Pero nung nag-end yung student visa ko, wala na akong choice. So, sabi ko, sige, I'll take this. Mag-partner visa na tayo. So, nag-partner visa kami. Nag-grant yung temporary partner visa ko. A week after nun, na-invite na ako for skilled migration.
So, combo.
So, nag-combo. So, nag-doble yung bayad ko. Yung partner visa, 9K. Ano na yun? Bayad na yun. Bawal ng
i-refund. Oo.
So, the next week, dahil PR na yung invite sa akin, sabi ko, kailangan ko na itong kunin. Kasi yung partner visa, matagal eh.
Temporary.
Tapos mag-PR ka pa. So, the next week, kailangan ko na naman magbayad. So, nagbayad ako ng 6K para sa PR. So, yun. So, yun yung naging journey ko. Tapos, eventually, kinailangan ko i-cancel yung partner visa. Nag-grant yung yung PR. Tapos, a year after, nakapag-apply for citizenship. Tapos, ngayon, citizen na. So, medyo, din pala siya, medyo masalimuot din pala siya. More of like, financially, ang daming gastos talaga.
Ang hirap talaga, lalo dito sa Australia, dolyar ang kita, dolyar din ang gastos.
Oo, totoo talaga.
Ano yung pinakamahirap na napagdaanan mo o na na-experience mo in your Australia journey?
Siguro yung first few months ko talaga dito kasi during that time, nung nag-move kasi ako dito, wala akong experience ng chemical engineering sa Pilipinas. Pero I was so set na kailangan ko mag-work as a chemical engineer para makapag-apply for PR. So yung first few months ko dito, sobrang hirap kasi ang hirap magkaroon. Parang, catch-22 na parang kailangan mong makapag-work sa Australia pero kailangan mo ng work experience pero hindi ka magkakapag-work experience kung wala kang work. So parang, catch-22 siya na ang hirap niyang i-navigate. So feeling ko yun yung pinakamahirap. Tapos dumaan din ako sa time na, dahil nga wala akong work, tapos syempre, peso lang naman yung dala ko that time. Dumaan talaga ako sa time na pumupunta ako sa mga food pantry para makapanghingi ng food. Tapos magme-message ako, mangungutang ako sa mga friends para magkaroon ng food. Tapos actually even for my first year here, yung nag-iipon ng mga bote, ng mga cans, tapos in-exchange ko siya for 10 cents. Para lang magkaroon talaga ng food. Feeling ko yun yung pinakamahirap. Tapos, nung nagkaroon na ako, after a month, I think, nagkaroon na ako ng work, pero hindi pa chemical engineering. Pero I had to take it kasi paubos na yung pera ko. Nakatira ako dati sa Villawood. I'm not sure kung familiar ka sa Villawood. Ang work ko na nahanap sa pinball. So,
parang, hindi na ako familiar sa pinball.
past North Sydney, Chatswood. Lagpas ng Hornsby line. So, nagta-travel ako ng 1.5 hours one way. Tapos pabalik 1.5 hours. So, parang 3 hours na transportation lang. So, yun yung life ko for like 6 months na parang pag pumapasok ako, travel, work, uwi, tapos matutulog lang, tapos gawin ulit yun. So, parang yung mental state ko dati parang lang ako parang robot na parang go, pasok, uwi, pasok, tulog, uwi. Yung mga ganun. So,
parang, okay, di ba, yan yung kwento nung bago dating ka dito. Ang hirap nun. Tapos graduate ka ng UP. Graduate ka ng Pisay. Student leader ka sa UP Diliman. Activist ka. Bakit ka nagpapatuloy? Bakit mo goal mag-PR or mag-citizen?
Kasi ako, actually, pinag-usapan namin yan nung ex ko dati na parang nagkaroon ako ng somehow identity crisis na this is very egoistic to say, pero I was somebody back in the Philippines. Kung parang, kumbaga I had a name for myself back in the Philippines. And then when I moved here, I was very low na parang I was worthless. I felt very worthless. Kasi nagbe-breakdown ako dati sa ex ko na parang may buhay ako sa Pilipinas. Tapos nung nag-move ako dito, parang ano nangyari? Parang hindi ko to kaya. Pero kasi ako yung tipo ng tao na kapag bigyan mo ako ng challenge, I will make sure to get it done. At gusto kong as in never akong mamamatay na hindi mag-accomplish sa challenge na yun. So, nung challenge ko yung sarili ko na alam mo, kaya ko mag-PR kaya ko maging citizen, ginawa ko yun. At hindi ako nag-stop to make everything happen. Kasi parang for me, ang naging main obstacle ko lang naman sa pag-PR ay yung pera. So, tapos nakikita ko din yung ibang may mga nakikilala din ako mga students na parang gustong-gusto talaga nilang dito na tumira. So, parang ako sabi ko, what's my excuse? Na parang people have it harder and more difficult than me. Pero sila gusto nila Gusto nila magpatuloy. Pero ako, I was given this easier chance, easier way. Sabi ko, anong excuse ko? Bakit ako magsistop? Bakit ako titigil? Why would I give up? Kung may ibang tao na gustong-gusto tong gawin. So feeling ko yun yung naging motivation ko talaga na parang this is just a dream for other people, but for me, it is a very reachable reality. So why would I stop?
kung may aral na itinuro ang Australia sa'yo, ano ito? Anong natutunan mo?
Ay, ang hirap. Actually, ang dami. Feeling ko, unang-una is take that leap of faith. Kasi hindi mo alam kung ano yung nasa other side eh. Kasi yun, feeling ko yun yung lagi kong binabalikan ngayon na kung hindi ako nag-decide na mag-move dito and I wouldn't say na courageous ako, na matapang ako during that time. I was just very determined, I would say, na parang kung hindi ko to gagawin, kailan ko pa to gagawin? Kung hindi ko to bibigyan ng chance, hindi ko alam kung ano makikita ko. So, feeling ko yun yung malaking lesson talaga na if you're given that chance to explore and experience life to its fullest, take it. Kasi hindi mo masasabi anong mga lessons, anong mga experiences, sinong mga tao yung mga mamimit mo. And it has been a very great experience for me here in Australia.
Ngayon naman, kay Cassandra tayo bumalik. So, you discover it because you love performing. So, saan naman nabuo yung identity na pangalang Cassandra?
Actually, ganito kasi yon, nung naghihingalo yung lola ko, sabi niya, Cassandra, yung kayamanan natin ay nasa... Tapos namatay siya. Eme lang. Eme lang. Hindi, yung Cassandra kasi, nung nagsastart ako mag-host sa Pilipinas, edi cross-dress, ganyan. Tapos may mga role din ako sa theater na nagka-cross-dress. Sabi ko parang kailangan ko ng pangbabaeng pangalan na tunog sophisticated, pero tunog high-class escort. Kasi alam mo, ang ultimate dream ko talaga ay maging kabit ng isang politician. Alam mo yun, yung parang kung mangungurap na lang naman sila, might as well take advantage of that and take my tax back. Anyway, pero yung isa kong fantasy talaga na parang, alam mo yun, tatawagan ka ni governor ganito na parang, okay, I booked a flight to Europe. I'll see you there. Mga ganon. So, yun yung fantasy ko na maging isang high-class escort. Femme fatale, very regal, pero kayang makipagsabayan sa mga matatapang na babae. Tapos parang dumating lang sa akin yung Cassandra na pangalan. Tapos, nung nag-start na ako mag-drag, sabi ko, kilala na ako ng mga Pinoy friends ko na Cassandra as the host. So, might as well just take it as Cassandra as a drag queen. So, kaya naging Cassandra queen.
Hindi ka nahirapang magsimulang mag-drag show?
Mahirap siya in a sense na, una, yung Sydney drag scene kasi is a very established drag scene. So, nung nagsastart ako 5 years ago, may mga tao na sa iba't ibang mga clubs. Ibig sabihin, may mga performers na per club. Sabi ba, Imperial, may tao na dyan. Universal, may tao na dyan. Stonewall, may tao na dyan. So, nung nagsastart ako, kinailangan kong ipakita yung sarili ko at ipakita kung ano yung kaya kong gawin. So, nung nagsastart ako, kinailangan kong pumunta sa iba't ibang mga events or like mga, anong tawag doon? Mga open mic, iba't ibang mga open mic na magpa-perform ka lang, wala kang bayad, pero ipapakita mo lang sarili mo. So that was my life for like 3 months na starting Wednesday hanggang Sunday, iba-ibang events yun na pinupuntahan ko. Pa-perform lang ako. Tapos eventually, dito sa Imperial, meron sila every Sunday, meron silang contest na magpa-perform ka, audience will choose sino yung mananalo. Tapos parang nanalo ako ng parang mga 6 or 8 weeks consecutively. So, nung last week ko, sabi nila, alam mo, tumigil ka na dyan sa pagko-contest mo na yan. Mag-perform ka na dito at maging regular queen ka na dito. So, ever since noon, naging regular queen ako sa Imperial. Tapos, eventually, may isang drag queen sa Stonewall na nag-drag race, si Hanaconda. Nag-drag race siya. Kinailangan nilang palitan si Hana for the Saturday shows. So, naghanap sila ng drag queen. Pinapasok nila ako ng one night for a trial lang. Yung parang, babayaran nila ako, pero tatry lang nila kung mag-gel ako sa mga performers, kung ano yung stage presence ko, ganyan-ganyan. Tapos, nagustuhan nila ako, pinabalik nila ako for the next few weeks. Tapos, inofferan nila ako na, okay, gusto mo bang magstay for the next 6 months? Tapos, nung dumating yung 6 months, sabi ko, oh my God, baka matanggal na ako dito. Tapos never naman na nila akong tinanggal. 3 years after, resident pa rin ako ng Stonewall, nagpa-perform pa rin ako doon. Pero yun, mahirap siya kasi balik sa question, mahirap talaga siya kasi wala akong kilalang drag queen na galing Pilipinas, nag-move dito, na nagda-drag. So parang walang magtuturo sa akin kung paano siya gawin. So I had to find myself, my way into the drag scene. So ganun siya.
Sabi niyo kanina, you are really want to challenge yourself. Sa drag industry, what's your goal?
My goal is to be a very big and become a household name in terms of drag. Not just even drag, like in terms of performing. Kasi yung drag, parang isang artistic expression ko lang naman siya. I also do stand-up comedy, I do theater. So, gusto ko siyang mapagsama-sama lahat into my drag form at maging isang household name at maging isang kilalang Pinoy migrant drag queen at makita ng Pilipinas na may isang magaling na drag queen na nasa ibang bansa na successful. And to inspire people na wherever you go, magagaling ang Pilipino eh. Yun talaga siya na gusto kong mapakita na magagaling ang Pilipino kahit saan ka pumunta.
Ang dami kasing takot, I could say na may mga ilan siguro na we are afraid of. Yung simpleng going out of the closet lang ang hirap. Bilang Pilipino, mabigat yon. Paano pa yung going into a drag show as a Filipino? Maraming sigurong may gusto, pero may takot sa puso nila. What will you advise?
Do you mean like to become a drag queen or even just to watch a drag show?
Yung panonood ng drag show, minsan they don't want to associate themselves to that because they don't want to be out. Na parang pag nanood ka kasi ng drag show, there is a perception na ay bading to.
Totoo. Feeling ko unang-una yung pag-out naman, parang it's not anybody's business aside from yourself. So, don't pressure yourself. Gawin mo siya kung kailan mo gustong gawin. And also, like, you don't really have to come out. Parang just express yourself. You don't have to say anything. In terms of drag, in terms of being a drag queen or like watching a drag show, just do it. I feel like kung hindi ka pa komportable mag-isang pumunta or lumabas, manood ng drag show, bring your friends, bring your straight friends, gay friends, kahit sino, dalhin mo yung pamilya mo. Manood kayo ng drag show, manood ka lang kasi wala naman siyang hindi ka naman tatatakan na pag manood ka ng drag show, okay, nanood to ng drag show, bakla to. Wala namang ganun eh. So, we welcome everyone. We always get straight people in clubs anyway. So, just go, experience it kasi feeling ko yun din yung purpose ko na, for example, may mga Filipino, I wouldn't say fans, pero like supporters from Wollongong, for example, na pumunta talaga sila dito sa Sydney para panoorin ako. So, feeling ko yun yung purpose ko na mapakita na there's a welcoming drag queen na kung hindi ka sure, kung natatakot kang manood, pwede kang pumunta sa akin and I will make sure that you will feel comfortable.
Saan ka ba nila makikita?
Yes, so meron akong mga shows. Ang regular show ko ay sa Stonewall every Saturday. Starts at 10 p.m. Yung shows namin starts at 10 p.m. Sometimes may brunch ako sa Imperial. Pero yung regular show ko talaga is sa Stonewall.
Sa Stonewall? Saan yun?
Sa Oxford Street lang. So,
Oxford Street?
Sa city.
Pero ngayon, ito ang tanong ng taong bayan. Kumusta ang kitaan sa drag industry?
Okay naman siya. I would say okay siya in terms of nakabubuhay. Pero kasi sa akin naman parang side job ko lang siya. So I don't really rely on drag as my main source of income. Pero kung ibabase mo siya, for example, let's say, ang minimum kasi na binabayad sa amin, sige, sasabihin ko na, minimum na binabayad sa amin kung regular working girl ka is $250 per night. Which would consist of like at least one performance and probably like 2 to 3 hours in the club. So, kung i-divide mo siya, parang lumalabas na 80 per hour siya. Which is, kung isipin mo, parang malaki, no? Pero kasi, you have to consider na yung pag-makeup mo pa, yung paggawa mo pa ng mga costume, ang daming time na ginugugol to create your drag persona.
And yung makeup is your own expense.
Yes.
The costume is your own expense as well.
So, feeling ko I'm just very lucky na may skill ako to make my own costumes. So, hindi talaga siya masyadong nagiging expensive for me. Pero syempre, you still have to buy the fabrics, yung makina mo and everything, yung makeup. Nauubos naman kasi yung makeup. So, may mga ganun. Feeling ko, mas kumikita kami ng malaki kapag mga corporate events, yung mga companies nag-invite ng drag queens, yun talaga, tiba-tiba. Yung kita.
Paano yung tiba-tiba?
Tiba-tiba talaga. As in, siguro mga minimum ko, secret lang natin to guys, at least 1K per appearance.
Oh.
So, yun, tapos eventually mag-increase yan. Depende kung kailangan ko mag-host, kailangan ko mag-perform, ilan yung performances, yung mga ganon, kailangan ko mag-travel. So, kapag corporate talaga or mga private events, yun talaga yung ano.
And you're working full-time?
Yes, I'm working full-time as well.
So, yung full-time na yan is, how many hours yung full-time? 36?
36 hours.
Tapos, nakapag-repair ka pa for
drag.
Paano mo
Hindi ko din alam.
Ilang taon ka na?
31.
Okay.
Oh.
So, paano mo na ma-manage? Bata pa eh. Kaya pa natin
kaya
to.
Kaya pa natin to. May lakas pa. Red Bull lang ang katapat.
Paano mo na ma-manage yung oras?
Ano lang talaga, actually hindi ko din alam masyado, pero feeling ko na perfect ko lang talaga yung time management in terms of, feeling ko ang important kasi sa akin is may separation ka ng day job tsaka ng drag job. So kapag matapos ko na yung drag job ko, hindi ko na siya gagalawin. Wala na. Yung mindset ko, okay, si Brian na ulit ako. Pero kapag matapos ko naman yung day job ko, okay, si Cassandra na, or like, si Brian as a not working person na. So, I think it's more in the mindset na nakakatulong talaga siya na i-divide mo kung ano yung kung nasang phase ka ng araw mo. Yun, feeling ko time management lang talaga.
Kung may aral na gusto kang matutunan ng mga taong makakaalam ng kwento ni Brian or ni Cassandra, anong aral to?
Oh my God. Feeling ko ang pinakamalaking aral talaga is huwag matakot. In terms of trying, in terms of experiencing, in terms of exploring and expressing yourself. Wag kang matakot na gawin kung ano yung sa tingin mo ang tama. Kasi hindi mo alam kung ano yung mga doors na mamubuksan mo. Hindi mo alam kung ano yung mga experiences na ma-experience mo. Hindi mo alam kung ano yung mga emotions and feelings na malalaman mo. And it will eventually lead to knowing yourself. And it is very important to know yourself and be grounded sa kung sino ka.
Brian, Cassandra, kompletohin ang pangungusap. Dito sa Australia,
mahirap ang buhay pero rewarding siya.
Wow, ang ganda nun. Teka, titignan ko kung meron ako nakalimutang tanong.
Go.
Anong advantage mo as a UP grad?
Here,
migrating in Australia.
Of course, aside from having the privilege na magkaroon ng special visa, ng special graduate visa, I think as a UP grad, we were taught to be determined and persistent and maging matatag sa buhay. Feeling ko yun yung naging advantage ko na dahil sa UP ako nanggaling, nagkaroon ako ng mga practical skills to handle myself in a different country. So, dahil sa tinuro sa UP kung paano ka lumaban sa buhay at paano may paglaban yung sarili mo, yun yung naging sandalan ko din talaga dito sa Australia. So, yun yung advantage ko sa pagiging UP student, I would say.
Yun lang. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you!